Alright, so today we're going to be preparing a whole roaster chicken. The way that we're going to be preparing it is we're going to be butterflying this bird. What going into that is we're going to remove the spine and break the breastbone so we can flatten it out. So I purchased this. It's just like a 4-pound, like a broiler bird, a roaster from Publix. You can see the the unit price. Just the $169 a pound or so. Presented, just along with the poultry section of their meat case. So standard fare for a retailer such as that. So what I'm gonna do now is just take some scissors on my pre-washed scissors on my pre-washed cutting board. Okay, so now that we've removed the packaging from this bird after we washed our scissors and our cutting board, so I'm gonna flip the bird over. For butterflying it, what we're just going to do is I'm going to turn this around. I want to come at it from this way. What we're going to do here is we're going to remove the spine. I'm going to get a nice sturdy pair of scissors, ideally strong kitchen shears for this. Because you're going to be cutting through some bone and cartilage. Put some elbow grease into it. Alright. And main reason why I like to do this personally is it ends up reducing roasting time for the bird and it allows more even cooking distribution. So main reason is just out of personal preference. And also, that being said, is if you want, you can save the spine for later use in stocks and such. So now what I'm going to do is flip the bird over, and I'm going to apply pressure and break the breastbone, making sure that it is able to lay flat, just like that. So what we're going to do now is, what I like to do is I'm going to take some sprigs of rosemary, which I've washed ahead of time. I'm going to just strategically place it in folds of the bird. There. I'll stick some under the bird. And ultimately what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be letting this sit in a salt coating. We're going to let this chill for 24 hours in the fridge, covered in foil. And the main reason we're going to be doing that is we want the salt to kind of we want to firm up the skin a little bit, so tomorrow when we come back at this, it'll be a lot easier to insert our herb butter under the skin of the chicken. And so, touch the bird and just hands off a little bit. Now we're going to take our salt, and we're just going to liberally coat this. A lot of this salt, I'm putting on a lot more salt than I will ultimately need. A lot of it will be scraped off later on. Again, this is really just to pull moisture out of the skin. Put that in, and I get some underneath the bird. Put some there too. Alright, nice snowy salted chicken. Now rinse my hands off once more. And what we're going to do now, like I said earlier, we're just going to cover that securely with foil, make sure that's nice and tight, and then just store that for a full day. long enough. That way good, really good envelope. I'm not letting a bunch of other crud in. I'll use that piece just for good measure. All right, I'll pop this puppy in the fridge. And she's good to go for an overnight chill. All right, so as you can see, it's the change of habit. It's now the next day. I've taken our chicken out of our dry salt brine. I've rubbed any of the excess salt and the herbs off. Now, as you can see, the skin is a lot more taut. We pulled a lot of the moisture out of that, and that's going to lead to a lot crispier of a skin. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to delicately remove, kind of pull back on this membrane between the meat and the breast here. I'm just going to do that for as much of the bird as I can, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take some herb butter I've prepared ahead of time. There'll just be some regular butter, just some rosemary and thyme, and what we're going to do is we're going to stuff that and rub it on the meat under the skin. For flavor, it's definitely well worth the effort that you're putting into that. So we're just gonna do that, and we're gonna come do that similarly for some of the thigh meat here. All right, so now that I've pulled back all the skin, I'm just going to take some of this herb butter and I'm going to just liberally kind of just press it under the skin and try and just coat as much of the meat as I can. Just want to rub that around in there. I'm going to rub a little on the outside too. A little butter never hurt you, except maybe your arteries. There. I'm going to get that on the thighs. And while I don't have any with me on hand, a little bacon fat mixed in with the butter doesn't hurt as well. Adds a little extra kick to it, flavor-wise. Nice and good and cooked. Okay, now I'm going to wash off my hands because we're just going to give that with a nice liberal coating of some black pepper to finish off the seasoning. We don't need to add any more salt. I mean, it's been sitting in a nice salt dry brine for 24 hours now. Anything more would be overkill. Just kind of make sure you get that all nice and peppered up. Okay, and now we're going to take this bird and we're going to pop it in the oven that I've preheated here to 425 degrees, and we're going to let that sit in there for approximately 45 minutes. We're just going to be checking for once it reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll check back in then. Alright, so now our chicken should be done, so I'm going to open it on up. As you can see, it's gotten nice and crispy. Just look at that skin. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to stick this under the thickest part of the fire right here, check the temperature. Looking at that, we are well above our threshold of 165. So we know we are good to go. So so we can take our bird out. Just scoot that over. Grab another mat. And we can rest it right here. And we're just going to let the bird rest for a little bit before we get into carving. So now that we've let the bird sufficiently rest for at least 10 minutes or so, we're just going to carve off some of this. We're going to make some cuts into here, just to cut off some of the thigh. Just look how juicy that is. Look at that. Right, so that, we'll get a little bit of the cut into the breast here. Just slide it like so. Get a little bit of that. Cut off a little bit more, and you can see how that's nice and perfectly cooked. Cut off a little more. Okay, and then for a full meal here, I've pre-made some just roasted little oven potatoes ahead of time, just with some salt, pepper, olive oil, some thyme and chives. Just a little simple accoutrement, and we've got a little side salad here to go with it and just make the full meal. Alright, so now that we've finished eating, I've taken the liberty of carving up the chicken into smaller pieces to fit in this Tupperware here, what we have left over, and I'm just going to store it in the fridge for later use. Get several meals out of a single chicken. Pretty economical and tasty.